So I'm gonna do like an after-hours session. So Spencer, just repeat what you just said.
Oh yeah, just there's to me out of character. There's something about him saying that this is in line with Desna, which it doesn't fit. At least to me, it doesn't fit Desna's profile, her portfolio about luck and liberation. Because that's when I made a cleric. That's one thing I was really looking for was the domains and knowing, and I know that those are her domains, and so putting rules and restrictions in place kind of go against. And with Desna being luck, it doesn't. I don't even think it's part of Desna's personality to bring a reckoning against people. It'd be more believable if this was maybe one of the other five deities, because I'm not even sure which the other five are.
Uh,
Uh,
Two of them are her lovers, so it's kind of complicated, and that's why I was trying to bring it
okay.
up in conversation with acolyte there, because like, for me, like, I'm not super knowledgeable yet about all the deities like I am with like 3.5 and stuff. So it's me pulling up some basic knowledge of like, cool, yeah, three of the base deities here are actually part of her polyamory tryst that she lives in, things that would be common space. But, you know, the early history of Desna is rife with war and chaos, like actual chaos, like the chaos end of chaos, because of actions she chose to do on a whim. So I don't know.
She Desna is very fickle.
But
I
as
swear to
for
God, I'm calling it now. I'm gonna end up having to kill Father Tobin. I'm gonna end up having to kill that fucking old man.
as
He
for
took such a simple plan and ruined it.
I
but
was supported.
yeah, as for what is it? As for the concept of travel and freedom and all this other stuff, putting up barricades and stopping the people from leaving is definitely a thing. Like, whether or not that was, as we've mentioned before this was implemented, but it's still the fact of the Church of, in theory, the Church of Desna preventing travel and journeys, which is kind of some of the bigger tenets of the church on sort of that matter of fact level.
Right, as a well-traveled gnome, Aloysius is not a fan of barricades and not impeding travel for sure.
Well, and like the whole point of this was to get more travel and get more people coming here, not try and lock up the ones that we already have. But that largely falls on the mayor more than the church, because the barricades and all that were up because people were trying to make a mass exodus due to the plague, which is what caused the riots, is the people being unable to escape. Now, the church's crackdown, in all likelihood, is just going to end up exacerbating that, because they're either going to have to just completely lock up all the people who
Yes.
want to escape, or they're going to end up fucking, or the church's power is going to end up crumbling around them. And like, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating to watch something so simple just completely explode. All he had to
Well, and
do
that's
was make one little speech about Nualia saved us, praise Nualia, spread the word. It was that simple. But he made it about
well,
punishment, and he made it about cracking down because it's all just a power grab for him.
so like I understand that, all these barricades and whatnot being set up beforehand, especially, I mean, crap, guys, we live in the time of this pandemic.
Yeah.
So there are a
Yeah,
lot of things that,
parallels,
like,
parallels.
yeah, and so we understand, if there is a disease that's running rampant, uh, we're supposed to try to stay home and all this kind of stuff. And my character, Broderick, his whole thought process with this is, if we were if we were just honest, hey, there was this disease, the plague itself has stopped, life can get back to normal now, we can lift these restrictions. some people still may leave because they may feel like there's no future here. But with the plague being essentially over with, life can get back to normal, and therefore restrictions even need to be in place anymore.
See, I see, like, I see the goal there. Like, the freedom of information thing is definitely something I can get behind, but in this particular case, I think I think the worldview is definitely one that I would say is a bit naive. The roadblocks were up not because people wanted to keep the plague out from spreading. The roadblocks were up entirely due to the fact that they wanted to force the population to stay in the city. They were worried that so many people were going to leave that it was basically going to immediately become a ghost town. So they put up the barricades and just forced everybody in, which is why
Yes,
it's one of the reasons it pissed
but
people off.
people
Now,
but people were leaving. People were leaving though because of the disease that was going around.
now
Now that the disease is handled, they can, if it's communicated to the people, then it's up to the choice of the people whether they stay or go.
but people
And
already know that the disease is handled. That already happened. They're trying to leave because the town is completely in disarray and they don't think there's a future here.
if that's the case, I mean that's the case. We like
Now,
if
the
that's up to
problem
that's up
is
to
that
those people to decide for themselves.
now that is true, and that's why I disagree with what the town's doing. The thing is that I think that telling the people the truth is basically going to guarantee two things in all likelihood. The town is probably going to fall to pieces because the entire reason that the lie was created was to give people a reason to stay. Nualia saved us. It wasn't that the plague killed so many people because we failed to stop it. It was the plague only killed this many people because Nualia saved us. And Nualia becomes the focal point which brings people back into the town and gives them a reason to stay. If you get rid of both of those stories, two things happen. First, you've deceived the people, and that turns them against the church. So the church takes a big hit there. On top of that, you deceive people from the town's perspective, so that turns them against the town in general, and then you also take away the reason to stay, so people are back to believing that the town is cursed or the town is never going to be prosperous, and you don't give anybody on the outside any reason to want to come here. So all of the merchants and everything, so it just becomes like a cycle of people leave and there's less money to spend, and the merchants make less money, so the merchants don't want to come here, so there's less money in the economy again, and it just circles the drain until all of it just kind of falls apart. The lie works to bring people in. The problem isn't the lie. The problem is Father Tobin, because what Father Tobin is doing is he's not using this as an opportunity to better the town. He's using this as an opportunity to better the church.
I will agree to disagree on that, because even good things born of a lie does not make them correct.
Now,
Garlemald and
I agree.
Aloysius came.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Good.
You there?
What were you
You
gonna
there,
say?
Robert?
Robert, you there, bro?
Oh yeah, sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Garlemald and Aloysius come in as a traveling party, whereas all the other characters have lived here their whole lives. So speaking like sort of for Aloysius, if shit hits the fan, I'm happy to just leave town. But if they close off the exits and I can't get out, that kind of creates drama.
Now, see, like with the whole lie thing, like, yes, it's bad that it's born from a lie, but the fact is that if you're someone who lives in this town and you're born in this town and you're raised in this town and your livelihood and everything you know is this town, saving the town by doing this is completely realistic. Telling the people the truth, unless you have something else to use to save the town, you're basically just agreeing that it's okay that the town dies.
I mean,
Like, people need hope. They need something to rally behind, and luckily in D&D, religion is a real concrete concept. So the concept of Nualia being this chosen one that helped everybody is a completely reasonable idea.
I'm not okay
But
with
unless
the
you have something to, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just
Robert, we lost you there.
sorry. I guess I'm fat fingering it.
But if you take away Nualia and you take away and which will essentially destroy the reputation of the church because they've lied to everyone, what are the people going to rally around and want to stay here for? What are you going to replace that with? Because we're dealing with scared, largely uneducated peasants in a town that is basically been brought to its knees. And by taking away this lie, we're taking away the only thing that can possibly bring people back. So if you're going to do that, you need something you can replace it with.
Yeah, people having their freedom.
People can have their freedom anyways. That's the Father Tobin problem, not the lie problem.
That is a lie though, because deception like that then makes it where people they're not free. They don't actually have the opportunity to make the correct informed decision, and therefore that actually loses people then lose their choice. They lose their freedom of choice when it's based off of a lie, when it's based off of a manipulation into a certain I can't say that word right now. Trajectory. Wow, I don't know why that was so difficult to say. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think that is idealism that suits the real world much better than a medieval fantasy world. In the medieval fantasy world, people leaving the town, kills the people in the town, kills the economy of the town. Possibly the people leaving the town die in the wilderness. It's a scary, frightening, horrible world. And as far as I'm concerned, the gates should be open and people should be allowed to leave. But government, politics, economics, that is all manipulation. And if you want to survive as a city, you need to play your cards right. You need to have the story that keep people coming back. Unless you're ready to tell these people that there is no recovery for this town and you are likely to die out if you do not leave, then you kind of have to buy into the game.
With like 300 people dead, the town is basically dead.
Yeah. Without this, the town is the town is going to die.
Yeah, I think Aloysius would be just as likely to leave. He's a wanderer at heart for sure.
Like, why are people going to move to the town that had the plague kill all these people? Why are merchants going to come to the town when everybody's leaving? Like you need something for people to rally behind, and if Father Tobin can't get that together with just the church on its own, then you need a symbol to rally behind.
Or maybe they just don't let anybody leave, and that becomes a story we can't leave.
No, if they try and stop us from leaving, we'll just kick their ass and leave. They're a bunch of like shitty town militiamen. Like they could barely hold up against the mob.
Maybe something crazy
Well,
happens.
hey guys, I've got to hop off because I'm gonna get the littlest one to bed, help my wife out a little bit since we're done early. It allows me to help my wife out a little bit, so
Okie doke.
I'm gonna hop off here.
Later,
I'll see ya.
Take it easy.
You guys have a good evening.
I don't know. I agree with a lot of what he says, but I think it's far too idealistic and it's somewhat naive when it comes to the concept of it's the difference between running a character and running a town.
No, I want to play sort of like a wanderer, and then I have the exile traits. So, like, I mean, I understand the town's going to shit, but I'm just as soon as likely to leave town then, you know.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I'm in basically the same position. Like me and you can just leave town. That's honestly why I'm so surprised that he's willing to like dissolve the lie. when that might be all that saves his hometown from just dying out.
I mean, honestly, 300 people are dead, and the town is now rioting, and this rioting will go out to other towns. So, for a time, no new people will come to the town, which means that the town with 300 people less isn't as self-sustaining. So, if nothing changes, they die eventually, or they can't halt the riots, and people will just leave in case the city gets dissolved.
Like, the biggest thing with the exodus that has been happening is it could be spun and turned into the sinners fleeing the wrath of blah blah blah,
Exactly.
and building the story to be more concrete instead of creating more chaos for chaos's sake.
Already ahead of you on that.
The
Already ahead of you on that, Marcus.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many ways you can twist and turn information like this that it just
Yeah.
you can make the story whatever you need it to be. My issue isn't with how they're handling the story. My issue is with the fact that Father Tobin is basically just doing what he wants for himself rather than actually trying to help the town at all. He risks sacrificing the town just to make sure that everyone who dies in that town was a firm believer in what he said.
And that's, I guess grinding up against Marius now, and kind of showing him where he might lie in all this, which is why I'm trying to play my character a lot more conflicted in this, given I'm a little church boy.
Well, and you know, like Alkalot Xantus. Alkalot Xantus is like one of my favorite characters because like he helped you guys to the dragon. I thought he's such a pure character. He's just doing what somebody he looks up to is helping him do, you know. And like the conversation that you and Father Xantus had, I was really blown away as we were having it because I felt like it was a really pure conversation between two characters. That's how I feel. I'm a nerd, though.
And no, but like it was a really good RP, like straight up, just in the seeking and the questioning and the these are my teachings. This is what I know. I don't understand. Like, why is this happening? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it played out really well like that, like the back and forth. But at the same time, it's just, I'm trying to build this character a certain way too, and I'm waiting for his spark, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that pivoting point as well, because I'm still trying to play the the good son in all this too, right? Because I want to believe my father has the best in mind, and it isn't just some power grab that this man from outside of our town is telling me it is. I want to believe that this is going to be for the best, even though I'm watching militiamen get trampled underfoot and die from raging mobs, and parts of the city being burned under panic, right? Like, best intentions, good for goodness's sake, like all these other things that are just starting to plague and eat at Marius's sensibility.
Well, it's always a good sign when your local religious leader tells you, now that we're changing the rules and they don't match what our doctrine says, you ever considered that we're just worshiping wrong? Like,
Yeah.
what if the way we worshipped our God was wrong and the right way is the way I say it is? It's brilliant. Then there's no contradictions.
Hence me bringing up things like Galander and stuff in the statements of the direct opposition of Desna, right? And getting into these things, also realizing that the image I saw in the tree has more to do with this as well. So I've got some other things I got to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if things went poorly enough, my backup plan was to go to the large mob outside of the church and use my very high diplomacy skill to convince all of those people that Father Tobin is a corrupt, terrible man who is manipulating the chosen Nualia in order to warp and change the public's perception of her, and he's using her divine gift for evil. And I was going to convince them that was the case, and we were just going to storm the church. And the funny thing is I can still argue it's a diplomacy check, because in all likelihood, that is what he's doing.
How high is your diplomacy?
Currently it's +8.
What's your charisma?
My charisma is 12. But it's a class skill, and I have 2 ranks in it, and I get 2 ranks in it due to my one of my racial traits.
A 12 dwarf is like a 14 human.
Yeah, like
Fighters have diplomacy as a class skill?
no, it's a racial trait that makes it a class skill for me. Yeah. So I have a chunky ass diplomacy, and I wouldn't have to worry about it being a bluff, because Father Tobin is just manipulating the Walia so he can make a power grab. There's no bluff in there. Now, as to whether or not I'm going to have to use that wild card, I don't know yet. It's gonna be interesting, but I am putting my money on it now that I am going to end up having, me or someone in this party is going to end up killing Father Tobin.
I mean, that was basically my plan to rile up a mob.
I don't know.
You are.
I'm echoing?
I think so. Let's see. I don't know. Somebody started echoing.
This is going to be interesting for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it's getting there. It's getting there.
I hate watching people run this city so poorly. They're going to destroy themselves.
And then I'll go to a new city where it's rich and prosperous, and I won't have to feel bad because it wasn't my hometown.
My character is definitely not above stationary cool. My luck and my diplomacy is both mine.
But I'm gonna get going. I gotta go to the bathroom.
So I'll talk to y'all later. If there's any like role play or anything y'all